Welcome back to the Domain Academy podcast. And we have a smaller cast today of people who can make it, but we wanted to check in. It's been about a month or so, and we wanted to check in with everybody and give an update on where we're at. So far, Mike is still in the lead, so we'll check in, but we have a new person moving into second place who's joined us today is Andrew. And actually, we have the top three because Deepak is here as well. So we've got the top three. We're going to get started. And Andrew, I'd like to start with you since you made the biggest move over the last month. You were in tied for last, and you moved up to second place in just a few weeks since we last talked. So I wanted to know how you were able to do that for anyone who's not following along on the tracker sheet.
Yeah, so I would say it was a couple things. First of all, when I went into this contest, I was like, I'm not going to use my network because I wanted to simulate kind of a new domain investor. But as the months have gone on and I've sat with zero sales and Mike was making fun of me, I felt like to heck with that. So I decided to talk to a couple domain investors I know and say, hey, do you want to buy any of these domains? They're great names, but they're cheap. And so I did that, and I'm happy to talk through kind of the ones I sold and why and why I think they chose them and how I found them as well. So happy to dig into that when you're ready.
I want to hear about that, but I want to address the elephant in the room because we've had some feedback on X and other places where people are saying, well, you all know people in the domain industry, and so you're using your network and you're making sales, and I don't think that that's quite fair. And I think that that's a reasonable, concern for people. But one of the things that I think is important is that almost everybody has a network. And if you don't, you really should, be networking. But you might have a network in your construction industry, or you might have a network at your job, as a tech consultant or whatever you're doing, right? You have a network. So we talk a lot on Domain Academy about starting out with buying names that you know the area, the niche, the vertical, right? And you're familiar with it so you can understand the value yourself. So I think even if you're starting out new and you don't know anyone in the domain name industry, you do know other people that are in your network. And it's a great way to start investing is to buy names that are in that vertical and then talk to people that are in your network, right? Because you see the value in it, they should as well. So I think utilizing your network is available to anyone. And it's something that's really important when you start to get investing in domain names. So I wanted to address that, but I really want to know how you
Hey,
found.
can I pause you for a sec before we dig into Andrews?
Yeah.
Is it actually unfair? Do you think that we have an unfair advantage? Sure, we know more people, but if you look at all the domains, and all four of us sold domains wholesale to other investors, all of them were good names, either single words or 2 words. We're not talking about 3 words, 4 words, 5 words. We're not talking about domains that don't have direct economic appeal to a company. Do you think, and I pose this to everybody, that if you knew nobody in the industry, but you just followed people in the domain name industry and you offered these types of domain names that we just sold, like Rational Code, Marketing Thoughts, fakes.orgs, and I pull 3 out from Andrew's list that he sold. I'm sorry, you didn't sell Marketing Thought. Those types of domain names, and you just DM'd me or Deepak or Andrew or Joe or, any of the other 200 active people on Twitter that buy and sell domain names. Do you think that we'd have the same response, the same type of outcome?
I think it would be different because I think people know that we did a decent amount of research before we bought the names compared to just a random person coming up to offer you the names. But I think that if you were to put them on someplace like Name Pros, where they're going to get a lot of views, people will look at that. There's always wholesale names being sold on Name Pros. So I think if you put them there, you could get the same price that we're getting, right? We're not off.
Maybe I will say I posted, excuse me, I posted some of these to Name Pros without tweeting about them and didn't get any sales. And, there are a lot of people posting stuff there, right? Yes. And so it is a little bit difficult to rise above the noise. But I do think, Michael, to your point, I think we have some advantage because people know that, you ran Domain Academy, you founded it, right? You kind of probably following some of the processes that you taught there. So I think that helps. There's some credibility. And certainly we have a big following on X. And so I think that helps. But, I've been thinking about this too. I think that, we're also, I don't think we've had much success with outbounding. That's not really our thing. I think when you look at the constraints of this contest, $500, not a lot of money. It takes a long time to discover these domains, right? So on a per hour basis, it's not that great. But it strikes me that if you put these artificial constraints in place, in the 1 year limit, I think that a domain investor that's maybe in a country where making 20, 30 bucks an hour would be awesome, granted $500 is quite a bit there too, but it would be worth it to take the approaches we're taking. And then I think people that are good with outbounding, but I really think the investor to investor sales at $50, $100, that sort of thing for certain people that can work great, but obviously it wouldn't be a good use for a lot of people's time.
Well, I'll push back and I'll say that and I get a lot of inquiries, just like I'm sure you guys do via DM and email. And if people came to me with good 2-word.coms that have economic appeal, the world would be different.
Fair point.
I think
Fair point.
even with the domaining groups, which there are quite a few on WhatsApp, I see a lot of newbies starting now and doing the exact same thing outside of the competition. And then they have graduated from selling for $10, $20, $50 to some people like Gaurav Gupta, who regularly sells 4letter.coms. He's gone up to $600, $800, $1,000. So I think there's always value. The added advantage, as Mike and Andrew said, that because we are known and we've had past sales and past data, people have that extra bit of assurance that they did their research, they have these constraints, and still they are picking up these names. Definitely there's going to be some value than the $50 or $100 that we are paying.
Yeah. And let's face it, most of the emails that we get, 99% of them are just full of crap names.
That's right. Yeah.
Crap
So
premium names that we'd want to buy,
Yeah.
If you're gonna like just cold pitch somebody a name, it would be good to show the research, right? So I've done that on one of the names I sold, and it sold like that just because I showed like, here's the comps, like this name itself sold before, which is a big, a big plus, right? So this name sold, other names that are like it sold, businesses are using it. So, this is a good pickup. And, so giving some of the data that, your thought process behind buying it quickly, right? That was just a big, would help.
Yeah. Thanks for that sideline.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's good information to cover for people. So, Andrew, let's find out how you found some of the names that you did, because I know you used the tool for one, and everybody's really surprised because we've been talking about it behind your back, right? $150 for fakes.org seems too cheap. So I want to know about that, and I want to know about some of the hand reg names that you found, because I think it's pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, so the Domain Academy, what do you call it, Joe? The Afternic
Advanced Search.
Afternic Advanced Search. So it's pretty cool. You can go in and you can search Afternic inventory by number of extensions domains are registered in and that sort of thing. And I've had success before finding kind of gems that were priced low on there. So I found let me look it up. It was margo.org.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a good one.
Yeah. And I bought it for, let's see, how much did I buy it for? I bought it for, well, $99 plus the transfer.
That was a better deal, I think.
No, totally. It was a great deal. And then I sold that for, let's see, $6,500. Not that much later. And I think it's used by, is it a Linux? Let's see, a Linux Foundation project or something like that. Yeah, Linux Foundation project. But anyhow, so that's the type of name you can find there. I found fakes.org and one other that was too expensive to use in this contest that I won't mention. And the first thing that came to mind is, okay, fakes. So like the organizations that fight back against fake products and goods, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Plus it was priced right. So bought that one through there. And then I presented all these names to a couple different domain investors. And I said, take your pick, any of them for $50, as long as you bought at least two, because I wanted to use the Afternic sales link for it. And other than fakes.org, everything's $50. And then they said, well, how much for fakes? And I agreed to sell it at 150, which is painful because I spent 3 hours finding the two .org names on there.
It out the amount of time that we're spending in this competition.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, which is where I get back to the time spent versus the return. Now that's the type of name, though, of course, that it would sell for thousands of dollars. So in my mind, it was worth the time because I'd eventually sell it for a lot more. But again, because Mike was, getting on my case about not selling anything, I decided to unload some of these. But so here's the other interesting thing about the names they chose. I actually put the acquisition price next to them. I copied the purchase price and put it next to them. So they were aware, but they just kind of these two people, when I presented them with them, they quickly went through the list and said, I'll take this one, this one, and this one. And you'll notice that all 3 of my hand registrations were picked up. So those were dedicateddev.com, cloudchime.com, and rationalcode.com. And I believe I found all 3 of those through AI tools, which I talked about on an earlier podcast episode on the Domain Academy podcast. So that shows you, and they picked those up over some of the more expensive closeouts that I bought. So that I think goes to show that those AI tools can actually be pretty good at finding domains to hand register. And again, I feel, I joked with one of them. He's like, I'm going to laugh when I tell you that this one, sold for thousands of dollars later this year. And I was like, yeah, haha. I'm going to laugh too.
I don't want to know any of my domain names that I sold to investors. I'm happy for them when they sell them, but I don't want to know any of the pricing.
Yeah, I totally am. I totally am happy too. But I think that just kind of goes to show too, and they didn't do any research. They just eyeballed it, right? They know I did research. But it goes to show there are opportunities out there, I think, even in the hand registration game. But the lists that we see from newer people that just have gone hog wild on hand registrations are usually pretty bad.
Yeah, they're usually available for a reason. That's what I
Yeah. So, I also, when I look at hand registering a domain, I usually go to see if it's been registered before. And that's at least one signal that there could be some interest in it. And I use like Domain Tools historical whois to figure that out. Domain IQ also has a historical whois. But I think that's another clue that there might be some value there. If it's never been registered in the 40 something years or the 20 years of data or so that we have, 25 years of historical data, then I would think 3 times about that before you make the purchase.
Yeah. And I find it interesting that 4 or maybe even 5 out of the 7 that you sold are sort of tech related. You've got Dedicated Dev, Cloud Chime, Rational Code, Pod Shuffle, and even fakes.org. I think as we're getting into the AI world where we can't
that's a good
whether
point.
anything's real or fake anymore, and there will be institutions and organizations stood up just to help people see the difference and to lobby for laws that protect people. I think that those are all tech related. And so those are smart buys by whoever bought these.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it was kind of painful for me, but it's worth it because I'm in second place, baby.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got a question for you. How did you determine $150 to sell for fakes.org? Why not like 200? Why not 250?
I was in the moment and I was like, well, this could propel me, these $50 at a time. That's nice. But
yeah,
I think that propel me into second place. I think even without that, I might have been in. No, I would not. Yeah, I would have. I would have been in second place. But yeah, I mean, and I bet I could have gotten more from the person. But it's also, look, this is all friendly, right?
Turn and burn.
Yeah.
I found it interesting, I'll talk about it later, that I sold one domain name for $150 since the last time we recorded. And that included 2 domain names, one for 50 and one for 100. So I've pretty much been pricing all my domain names at 100. I've been trying to buy good domain names that I think are worth $100 that investors can get a 20 time to maybe even 50 time return on if they price it and wait. And so I did an afternic. You can't do an afternic checkout link for $50. $99 is the minimum that you can do it. And so I priced one domain at 150, and then I just pushed the other domain name to them once they made the purchase, buying both of them for 150. So I like what you're doing here, selling 2 domains at a time for $100. It's a way to,
that was my deal to them. I said, you have to do it through the Afternic link. So,
Yeah.
We'll do one for, whatever the price is through the Afternic link, and then I'll push the others to you. So,
yeah. So, a great way for newer investors to sweeten the pot as well. If they have another domain name that they want to move, or they need to move something, they can sell 2 domain names with one link and then push the second domain name.
I have a question for you, Mike. I'm surprised you still haven't sold Vegas bankruptcy lawyers. That's the type of name Bruce sells day in and day out.
So yes, it was Bruce Brieger that told me, like, Mike, I'm going to give you a great domain name if you outbound it. I'm like, Bruce, let me have it. I need to teach these guys a lesson about outbounding. And he gave me the domain name. And there's a ton of bankruptcy lawyers in Las Vegas, as you can imagine. I came up with a whole list. Bruce actually has a database or something. He gave me the database, but then I look through it and it has like info at company, or it doesn't have the person's name. And maybe I'm wasting my time, but I like to find out who the principal is. I like to find out what his or her name is, their email. I personalize the emails. I send it to them. Probably not doing myself a favor. I don't know. I'm not an expert in outbounding, but I reached out to, I don't know, I'd have to go through my list, like 40 to 50 attorneys trying to sell this domain name. 0 response, except for one attorney who's getting ready to retire because she's 71 years old. And she's like, thanks for letting me know, but I'm not in the market. I'm like, do you know anybody that is? And she's like, no. I still get a trickle of people opening one of my outbound emails to them because I tag it with a little, pixel, so it tells me when it's opened. It's been hard. We've all done outbound to investors. It's been hard doing outbound to an end user. For a few of them, I tried testing the waters. First, I didn't say the price. Later, I came back with different marketing message, different positioning. I quoted $700 because I think a lot of the outbound for these types of names are in the, $300 to $1,000 range, maybe up to $1,500. No response back. I may just do a Hail Mary pass, like in, at the end of summer, maybe when people are coming back to fall, and just reach out to everybody and say $100, reaching out to many people. Whoever uses this link first can buy it. I don't know. But it's been
sometimes
tough.
it's so difficult to let go of some of these names that you just don't want to sell them at that price. So for example, one of my friends who's a pretty veteran in the domaining industry, he offered me $400 for bc.io, bisi.io. Just couldn't let it go for that price. I told him that let me wait for a few more months. If I don't get anything, I'm going to surrender at your feet, but just can't let you have that for that much.
cvcv.io for $400. Yeah.
You just can't let go of a few things.
I almost feel better letting go of it to an end user for a lower price than to an investor. Something's wrong with my psychology on that one.
So have we moved on to Mike? Can we ask Mike questions?
No, aren't we still have questions for Andrew, don't we?
No, you got it all.
Do you feel, Andrew, that all of the other domain names that you have on your list that those investors didn't buy are junk, and now you feel badly about them?
No, I don't. Thanks, Mike. I don't. I think it's just, first of all, I do think they grabbed some good ones. As you pointed out, Mike, they've got some tech focus, which I think are a good place to play. Let's see, looking at my other ones. So like I have originalleadership.com. Ooh, I didn't put, but that must have been a closeout there. Let me add that to the list. I'm just looking at, everyone who's listening, I'm sure Joe shares with you, but you can actually see everything we bought, how much we bought it for, when we bought it, that sort of thing. Originalleadership.com. I sell leadership domains like that all the time for 3 to 5K. So I think that's a good one.
I gotta add leadership to my list of keywords to search for now.
Oh, man.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah. You bet. You bet. The one that I sold that I was kind of like, oh, I wish you didn't pick that was wildcouture.com, because it looks like the .org also expired, and I think it's being developed. Yeah, it's being developed as we speak.
Sure.
So I think that one's a really good buy for the buyer who shall not be named. And then, but no, I don't think that at all. I think people are looking for different things, and each buyer is different. So
Yeah. Yep. Everybody specializes in their
Cool.
own little area.
Yep.
Yeah, I think like in my mind, the sweet spot is if you can make 700, 750 bucks or so, right? Which you're close to, Andrew and Mike, you've already passed, right? Then you already made back your 500 that you started out with. And you've got another year's worth of renewals under your belt, right? With that extra couple $100. And now you've got a portfolio of names basically for free. So any of those sales that go to end users, it should be, just free money, right? Like that's all profit. So I think that having extra names around, like the sell-through rate on names is 1 to 3%, depending on your portfolio if you're not doing outbound. So if you've got these extra names that you believe in and did the research on, it's only going to help you in the long run. And if you can make some quick cash up front, then it's all it's all paid for. So your carrying costs and your initial investments covered. So
Yeah.
Like the question, Joe, is it worth the time?
I think if you're starting out, it is. So then you, like you said, you can start to move up. You can use that revenue to start to ladder up, right? And then you get to make more money in more time. It's funny because my son's in economics right now, and his teacher asked the question in the class. It was about like budgeting and saving money, and he said you can take a bus to get you to your job, but it takes you 3 hours and it's free, or you could pay $10 or $15 for an Uber. And my son's like, Uber, and he's like, no, you want to save your money, and he's like, no, you don't. He goes, don't you know the cost of your time? He goes, so you're telling me that you'd rather you take a bus for 3 hours? He goes, is your time worth $3 an hour? Because if so, I've got a lot of stuff around the house I could use help with. That really mad at him, but he's right. Like, the initial investment, there's a lot of time to find these names, right? So, but once you have that, I think if you spend a lot of time up front and Andrew walks away with 30, 40 names, left at the end of the year, he's going to sell those, for multiples. So I think that it's going to pay
Excuse me.
off, and then you can use that money to invest in other names. So,
Yep.
But yeah, it's very time consuming, which is one of the things we're learning. So Mike, I've got a question for you. One of the,
Yeah.
Let me see. We'll look at the stats, but June and July, you did really well. You had 4 names purchased last I looked, but you made 9 sales and kept you in first place. The one that really stands out to me is Elevate Fund, because you bought them on the auction for $403, I think, and sold it for just under 900 10 days after. So what I want to know is I want to dig into that a little. Like there's only 3 TLDs that were registered for that, even though it's got a pretty high CPC, and there's some other stats like it's 46 other TLDs contain it in the SLDs contain, excuse me. So I don't know that that's a name I would have wholesale priced at $400. What made you decide to pick that for that much money? And then how are you able to sell a name like that so quickly? I think that was really one of the more interesting purchases that you made.
Yeah.
So
So-
before Mike answers that, sorry, Mike, I'll just
No,
take a
it's-
second. I felt so bad you selling that name so cheap because I know a friend who's one of the biggest VCs in Organon, who runs Elevate Fund and whose newsletter I get once every month. And he funds people in millions of dollars. And the moment I saw that, I felt so bad that
Now
this
you
is a
tell
quite
me.
Deepak,
need-
I'm so glad you're making Mike feel bad too, since this is Mike's,
we need like our own Slack channel or something where
you
I
just
can like
screwed yourself.
you guys. So yeah,
No,
All
there
right.
is a fund, and they have had some fabulous exits, and the minimum ticket size they put money is, I think, $10 million plus. And the guy is one of the tech industry's well-known figures.
Yeah.
I've met him a couple of times, and his fund is exactly that Elevate fund.
Yeah. All right. I'm
Mike,
gonna
you
go cry.
could
I'm gonna
have
be back in a
stopped.
moment. I
You
need to
could
go
have
cry.
stopped the contest at this point. You would have
I
won.
know
some
I could have. All right. So let me provide a little context. So since the last time we did a video, I think I've purchased 3 more domain names. One was elevatefund.com, one was rankingspro.com, and one was picklesingles.com, as in pickleball singles. And so I happened to be on the phone with one of my friends who plays pickleball, and I was running the domain by him, and he's like, "Go buy it now." I'm like, "Let me wait for it to go down."
Do I know this guy? Is this
This guy? And he went to the ICA pickleball event, and so he bought it from me. It was the easiest sale. I actually said, "I'll buy it if you buy it from me for $100." He's like, "Done." So that one was easy peasy. The rankingspro.com, I bought for $23.22 and sold it for $100. I love that one. I actually bundled that one with freshparenting.com for $50 because that was one of my first purchases that didn't fly off the shelves the first time that I offered my domain names for sale through NamePros and through X. And then the one that I took the big swing on because I've amassed enough of these small sales, enough of the small buy them at $5 closeout. So, $18, $20 total all in, sell it for $100, that I've built up a nest egg that I felt a little bit better buying a domain from GoDaddy Auctions. I get the daily emails from my premier accounts manager saying, here are the hot domain names, and they mix them up every day. Some days they're auctions and some days they're just closeouts. So as soon as I get that email, I look through the closeouts real fast to see what's 50, 40, 30, 11, and 5, because those are most likely closeout prices. And then I need to buy them before somebody else, because if you wait an hour, the good ones are gone.
It's true. You got to open that one. The closeout email you got to open right away.
Right away. And you don't know when the closeout email is coming, do we?
No, it's randomized.
Yeah, it's random. And so I saw Elevate Fund in an auction, and it was at like all, GoDaddy auctions. It was at like $50 or something, or $60. I'm like, oh, that's a great deal. Elevate Fund is not the best word. If it was Elevate Capital, oh my God, that would sell for like thousands of dollars on GoDaddy auctions, maybe like 10,000. If it was Elevate Lending, it's better. If it was Elevate Funding, it's better. But Elevate Fund is something that exists in the world. I did my research. There were multiple companies that used it. It had multiple different industries. Financial services, as Deepak pointed out, was the killer one, but even an Elevate Fund for education, where you get, students, underprivileged students or deserving students to, get, a portion of this fund for higher education. Lots of different uses I found. So I really liked the domain name because it did have multiple uses. And I told myself that I would go up to $600 based on all of the money that I had raised so far through smaller sales. And I was on a trip to Seattle. We got on the ferry boat from Bainbridge Island to Seattle, and we were going to meet my daughter and have some lunch. And, as Andrew knows, you lose service halfway across the water as, your phone is connecting. And I'm like, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to put in a bid for 601 or 611 or something like that. And then we got to the other side and I was able to connect, and I saw that I won it for $415.20. And then I think what I did was I reached out to a friend, Josh Reason, and I said, what would you price this at wholesale? Because I don't have a great calibration for what people are buying at wholesale. And he recommended the 888. And he and I both know a gentleman who likes to purchase financial related domain names. Reached out to him via DM on Discord because we're in the same group, and he took it right away. So love the guy. I hope that he sells it to your friend Deepak. I'm going to recommend afterwards that he reach out to you directly, because I'm sure you know him as well. And I hope he gets the big sale. But I think that it was a larger swing. It wasn't like all the money that I had, but it was a large swing. happy I took it. Happy to get back almost 100% or over 100% return on that. And now I have more money to look at more auctions. And so I think I've got just shy of $1,300 that I can spend right now on new domain names. I'm finding so little in the closeouts. Every single day I spend my time checking day after day after day. Don't find any domain names day after day after day because we are limited to GoDaddy auctions, closeouts, Afternic. So I really do need to spend more time on the Afternic advanced search like Andrew did, looking at single words and alternate TLDs, which I have recently made a purchase of, and, just trying to broaden because we can't go to other auction places where we would all recommend newer investors also look.
Yeah, exactly. I think at that point of doing your research, right, it's not always just the data, the hard data that comes in. It's looking at who the potential buyers are and users are, and are people actually using this in commerce? And you found a bunch of examples of that, right? And that's one of the things that I think maybe a newer investor might overlook. Okay, it's only got a couple of these, names registered, and there's not a ton of stats behind it. But then when you actually look at it and people are using this, as Deepak said, like one person he knows is using it for millions of dollars in deals. When you see that it's actually being used and those terms are being used together, then, and I like the point that you made about multiple use cases, right? So you're not locked into one place. It could be education, or it could be finance, or whatever. So I think those are really good points that show the strength of the name that other people might have overlooked.
So I was just looking through my sales for this year, and I sold a fund, a 2-word fund, just for a couple $1,000s, but it was a hand registration from 2023. It's under lease to own, so I don't want to say what the name is right now. And I was just checking, so they've made 6 of 16 payments, even though it was an inexpensive domain. But unfortunately, the domain's not developed yet, which is kind of what I look at when someone leases to own. Because if they start using it, then I feel like they're going to make all the payments. In this case, they might not. But I mean, look, the first payment was many times what I spent on a domain. But that was another hand reg that I found through AI. So
every single month when GoDaddy sends me my payments for lease to own, I go and check the domain names to see if they're developed.
yeah.
And it pains me when they're not developed yet.
Let's see. I've got 5 of my close to a quarter of my sales this year are lease to owns, for what it's worth. And these are like the end user sales, not the ones in this contest, of course.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to move on to Deepak. Deepak, you have not made a sale yet since we talked last, and I have your mug sitting next to me on my desk, but I'm not mailing it out until you make the sale.
As I told, I've not been finding domain names. Mike summed it up perfectly. Closeouts, I don't know. The ones I like, the moment they hit 50, they're gone. And the ones which trickle down somehow don't match the criteria. So I've been trying, and the only way to get good names is now, I think, go to the main board auctions. But even there, things are going, even a mediocre name is going beyond 400, 500. So I'm still having second thoughts of taking the risk as Mike took and buying one and trying to flip it, or maybe wait for a few more days. But I have alternate strategy that I plan to use if I don't get another sale in the next 1 week and then implement it.
And you don't want
Uh-oh. Look out. He's got a strategy. I'm concerned now.
I know, but he's not sharing it with us.
Well, I know.
It's a
This
do
is
or die.
cutthroat.
This cutthroat.
Don't forget the
Perfect.
model.
Perfect. I still have that $400 offer on the .io. So I
true.
can anytime go and just sell that name. But
So
I just
B-
don't want to.
B as in boy, ISI, CVCV.io. You bought for $60.43, and you've got a $400 offer on the table.
Yeah.
What are CVCVs? And I'm trying to do it in name bio. I've never been able to get this to work. I type CVCV in the pattern.
Yep.
Let me just, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
See, yep. CVCV and
And I
select
select.io and I do search
.io.
and here they are.
And then I
Okay.
also select like the past year because the wholesale may change significantly.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
then
so yeah, they're VATO just sold. These are all auctions, of course, for 199. NORU. These are all pronounceable CVCV.
Yeah, but
$180. Toda.io for $595. That's a nice one. DEPO, another nice one, 357.
that's a word, depot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Gnome, NOME, 485. So yeah, I mean, I can.
Fair.
I think the offer you have on the table is obviously at the wholesale market is fair.
Yep.
It's just but it's still painful, right?
yeah, one
Still
night.
painful, yeah. So that's the other alternative I have if I get really desperate. But then I'm gonna wait for 1 week and then see, maybe start buying from the mainboard auctions and see what, even if I can buy two names for maybe $250 or $300, what Mike did. Because there's no other alternative. There's just nothing I which I find attractive to buy at the prices
Well,
which are falling. So
what if you sold that for 400 and then like bought something like lave.io, which sold on GoDaddy for 200, and that VATO
yeah.
sold for 199, and then kind of rinse and repeat?
So I'm thinking of something on those lines. As I said, I have another strategy, but not with IO,
You won't
with another extension.
I'm just trying to figure out what your other strategy
Yeah.
is by asking more questions. So
I'll
Okay.
disclose it probably in the next one. We are all here.
I would wait until 11 months and 30 days
Totally.
to disclose what it is. But another thing I do point out, whenever you see an auction price, it means you could not have bought the domain for that price, right? So that's something to keep
Yeah.
in mind, right? Because someone else bid that amount. So had Deepak gotten in there, it would have been more expensive at the end of the day. Yeah, I know Deepak's sleeping on us because he's got, he's only bought 4 names. He's like, I'm gonna let Mike, Andrew, everyone here get a little comfortable with where they're sitting, and then pull out the big guns.
Hopefully, if I find a big one, but I have. In fact, I was going through the list today at the GoDaddy auctions. There are some really cool names at decent prices, but the problem is that I can be happy for like 6 days, 7 days, 5 days, 4 days, and the last 15 minutes kills all the happiness I had for so many days of the dream of getting the one, and the last 10 minutes they all come out of the woods, and boom, the name goes from 50 to 500, 600,
Yeah.
700.
Every time.
And I
Every
also
time.
feel your pain on watching a name go get snapped for $50 at closeouts. I think, Joe, the first day and the next to last day are the biggest, or the last
First day
day?
and the last day. So the first day, the last day, $5 day is by far the biggest.
Okay.
The first day is pretty intense. So when it comes out to $50, that gets hit a lot. Then the $40, $30 day slows down a lot. It picks up again at the $11 day. And then
Yeah, which makes sense psychologically, right? Like if it goes to 40, I usually wait for it to at least drop to 30 because I'm like, if no one wanted
Yeah.
it here. But then if I like it, I want to pick it up before it goes to 11 because I realize, it's a pretty big drop and people might swoop in there.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. So if you it made it past the $50 day, but you really want the name, you could wait till the $30 day pretty good,
By the way,
And
I do.
sorry,
Go ahead,
Andrew,
Deepak.
go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I do think it's my fault thinking back that GoDaddy changed from the 11, 10, 9, 8, whatever to the 50, 40, because I pointed out that all the names basically got taken right there on that first day. What was the point?
Yeah.
And, I think
Yeah.
Paul he saw money signs and
Yeah, it's tough. I'll tell you.
Shout out, Paul.
And so the rule James and I have is that we have to wait 12 hours until, the after the price has changed until we're allowed to buy it. So any other customer has a chance, and the names just disappear. So it's like I've been looking for real estate names. I don't know if it's because people are watching this or they've just been busier, but it's been harder and harder to get real estate names that are 2 words. for my strategy. And so I looked at a couple other ones to get some cash flow, and I can't pick up names like I looked at velvethammer.org. I remember that, so it's not a great name. It's a 2-word.org, but it had a lot of end users. I was like, okay, this is going to slide under the radar. And it got picked up. I don't remember what it got sold for, but it was, not $5 for sure. And then I just looked at one the other day, RafaelMoreno.com. Personally, I usually don't buy them, but there was a ton of people actually using it in commerce, and it got picked up. And I thought, this is crap. Like, I can't even get these ancillary names. It's been tough.
So, Joe, let me ask you, you've got 22 names that you purchased. You've sold 2 of them wholesale to investors, stockprimer.com and agiletraining.org. Most of your domains are geographic related. teamsonoma.com, thebougieagent.com, oregoncoastagent.com, thethomasteam.com. Are these domain names that investors would want to buy from you, or are you looking completely to do outbound on these? And if you are, how's that going?
So I've been doing 2 things. One is buying the names that I'm starting to focus just on real estate, so I can do outbound to one particular group and kind of like hone in on that. And then I've been trying to pick up some other names that I could just quickly flip to keep cash flow going. And that's been tough. That's why I tried Velvet Hammer, Rafael Moreno. I just picked up Legal Virtuoso. That's being used in commerce by a few different companies that have that name. So I think I'll be able to sell that to them. Hopefully, I just put it out on Twitter. Nobody wanted to attack Brayton. But when I think about lawyers, any city that I go to in the U.S., it's them. It's their face on a billboard, right? Like they're very, front and center. Like they want to represent the best. So I figure Legal Virtuoso plays right into that for a lawyer, right? So, so hopefully I can get that sold. But my main goal, because we have these kind of extra restraints on us, I can't go to auctions and buy names if I flip for a lot. If I start flipping a lot of names to investors at low prices and get a bunch of money, I can't then go to auctions or the Afternic Advanced Search tool and buy names that are more expensive and then flip those. Because I think what you're doing is the best strategy for a newer investor. And, you and Andrew going to look at these other places to buy names and sell them for more money. And maybe that's Deepak's hidden strategy. We'll find out. But I can't do that. So I'm going to have to try to get sales to end users to stay in the contest, or else, it's going to be a grind, and I'm still not going to wind up, in the first couple spots.
Just
so
full of excuses. Listen to this guy.
I'm working out. I'll give you some more excuses. So I think it's just good. Mike and I were talking about before, just to, kind of let people know that like life happens, right? So I'll preface this. I saw pictures of Mike in Greece in July, and I had the opportunity to go to Greece for almost 3 weeks. My parents are like, look, we're going to Greece. You just have to show up. And I was like, all right, I can't miss 3 weeks of work, right? Like it's too busy. So instead I stayed home. I got extremely sick with COVID. And then because of something that I ate, which is super random, I almost died. I spent a week in the hospital.
Yeah.
Food poisoning that like literally almost killed me. So July was pretty much a wash. And I'm looking at pictures of Mike and I'm thinking I should have went to Greece, right? Like I missed.
You wouldn't have gotten food poisoning or
exactly. I wouldn't
COVID.
and I could be in Greece. So my outbound has slowed down a lot for July, but I did have realtors reach out to me because I started this brand page. I started posting videos. I started an X handle, and I've got a couple realtors that I need to reach back out to that are interested. So I don't know if that's going to lead to any domain sales, but at least I have people that are reaching out. That Thomas team, there's a bunch of people called the Thomas team.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a lot of views. I sent out some emails. I'm trying to see if I can close a deal on that one. And the other one that getting a lot of views and interest is the NNN agent. It's called Triple N, which AI helped me to find, which is a commercial realty type.
Triple net. Yeah.
Right.
So that one's getting a decent amount of interest too. So I'll see if I can sell them. I don't know. The other ones I need to do some more outbounding on, but I didn't have the time in July. So I'm hoping that I can make some sales in August outbounding. I think I'm going to drop the price on Thomas team and see if I can get a sale from one.
What were you asking?
I think I was asking $8 9. I think I'm going to try and sell it for like 500 and see if I can get a deal on it.
You know, another one, I was just thinking back to Deepak and his pronounceable or the 4-letter .io. You've got LWT.io that you bought early on as a closeout for $78.99. Just looking at name bio here. I mean, it seems like that one could be wholesale, like HWG.io sold for 205 on GoDaddy just on August 7th. So it seems like that one might be an opportunity as well.
Yeah, I think I could sell that. Like Deepak said, I don't want to, right? So
You guys are horrible at this contest.
I know. Have we lost track of what the point of this contest
I
is?
know.
Gentlemen, come on.
I let my,
I think I can get an end user to buy it. It's consistently the most traffic of any of the sites that I have up for sale. So
You're motivating me even more to go buy more domain names and flip them for a lower profit just to like make the gap even larger.
I have a plan. So if I don't sell it by the end of the summer to an end user, I will put it.
Oh, now I'm worried. You got a plan. Deepak's got a plan. I'm not going to be in second place for long. That's for sure.
But yeah, that's my goal. So I'm trying to do end user sales and then pick up some other names that I can keep some cash flow for. So I'm confident that like long term, the portfolio that I'm building is going to sell names to me, right? So I think that over the long term, it's going to be profitable.
All right. Well, I'm going to enjoy being in second place while I can because it's clear that my days are numbered. So,
Well, we'll see. We'll see what Deepak's secret plan is.
yeah, well, and then you've got a plan too. So,
Everybody's
and
got a
Mike's in
plan.
first place or whatever he's been doing. He doesn't need a new plan. You know, he's just.
Well, so what would we suggest to Piyush, who is currently in 5th place, or 6th place, I'm sorry, and hasn't sold anything yet? What would we suggest to him?
I'd go.
Well, let's see. He can't change tactics because he's on the buy side because he spent all his money like within 2 or 3 days. Oof.
I'd go look at his stats. So if I was him, I'd go to my dashboard and see, are any of these names getting any interest? And so I try and adjust pricing, right? Like just get some momentum, you know, change the pricing on your names to like $99 or whatever.
Yeah, because he was taking big swings, right? Wasn't he doing like the,
Yeah.
you know?
So that's the two things I'd look at. Is there any data that, you know, shows that one name is kind of, you know, outperforming other people, and I'd figure out how I can do outbound on that one. And then the other ones I'd just lower down and see if we can get a sale.
I think he put in a lot of money on .net, AI copy.net.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, he spent
$136.
$135. Yeah.
I think he bought Property Jaguar because it's priced at $18.88. Okay, so I was just looking at his pricing. It's reasonable pricing, but yeah, we're going to be waiting all our lives to sell domains, like domains that are fantastic that sell for $40,000. The owners have to wait 10, sometimes 20 years for it. So it would be an anomaly out of 10 domain names to sell, one of them in a year. That's a 10% sell-through rate, where most of our sell-through rates are 1% for these types of domains. So he needs to wholesale.
Yeah.
Or he's going to get really lucky and have the last laugh.
He may get lucky.
He's going to be like, guys, I was doing it right the whole time.
I know, right?
I just sold this for $10,000.
I got a 10% sell-through rate, and I proved you wrong. Yeah. Could happen. Stranger things have happened.
Okay.
So if you want to follow along with us, we will have the link to our spreadsheet where we're tracking all of our purchases and sales in the description for the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get notified about any new videos that we're putting out. Thanks everybody for joining us.